Bethesda Studios has released the Elder Scrolls Castles just over a week ago, and I've played my way all the way to level 100 and have compiled a list of tips that will help you, whether you're a beginner who's just starting out or somebody who's already level 80, 90, or above. Now, I will preface this by saying I have spent some money on the game. I purchased the Emperor's Pass, but it really has not made that much of a difference on the gameplay itself. So all of these tips are going to be applicable to somebody who wants to play the game, but doesn't want to spend any money on the game. And beginner tip number one is that two different races can actually breed together. I know in the main Elder Scrolls series, if two different races breed, then the race of the child will essentially just be the same race as the mother. But in Castles, that is not the case. As we see here, I have a Dark Elf who is married to an Orc, and they have 3 children, 2 of which are Dark Elves. The other one is an Orc. Another instance of that is going to be my ruler here, who is a Nord, that you can't tell from the armor, but he is married to a Dark Elf, and they have 3 Nord children. Now, this is especially handy in the early stages of the game if you're just trying to increase your number of subjects, but also if you only have, one subject, let's say an Orc, for example, but you want more Orcs. If you have multiple Elves, you can just throw your Orc with one of your Elves, and although they'll likely have some elf children, they will start producing orcs as well. Beginner tip number 2 is that you can assign your ruler to go on quests instead of just having them sit at the throne all day. And you would assign them just the same way that you would assign any other subject. And this is great for the early parts of the game when you don't have very many subjects. You want to keep somebody in your production rooms and in your workshops producing things for you, but you also want to be going out on quests because XP that is given from the quests is the primary source of leveling up. So you want to be able to go out on the quests themselves and take your ruler out there with you. Now, they can do some other things like do gauntlet runs, have children, get married, but any kind of production room, whether it be food or oil or workshop, they will not do. But you can take them out on quests with you. Beginner tip number 3 is to only spend your gems on the legendary packs instead of anything else in the store. And the reason for that is because the items that you get from the store aren't really that great in comparison to what the packs give you. I mean, they'll offer you on occasion subjects, but you can get better ones through breeding, or they'll just come to your castle gates. Sometimes they'll offer weapons or armor, but again, you can get those through crafting and quests. I know there's a lot of different potions, but if your subjects are happy, they'll just give those to you at random, or you can get those through quests. There's blessings as well, but those aren't really that great to begin with, and those can also be obtained through quests. And there is some decorations and things like that, but those have very minimal impact on the game itself, whereas the packs will typically land you a sizable chunk of gold, typically, several hundred. I've gotten all the way up to, I think, 2,000. And subjects are pretty common in there as well. Also, enchanted armor or weapons and high-level resources. So in comparison with everything else that is currently available in the store, I would only purchase the packs. Beginner tip number 4 is to always prioritize the oil production over everything else. The oil functions the same way that power does in Fallout Shelter, being that if you run out of oil, you will no longer be able to produce any kind of weapons or tools, and you won't be able to produce food. And if that happens, your subjects will begin to starve and lose health, and they will be very, very unhappy. So if you're starting to run low on oil, use a potion on your oil press and get that oil up. Now, also, if you are beginning to get to the point where you're able to upgrade your buildings and you have enough coin to do that, probably upgrade the oil first. It does scale the more rooms that you have and the more people you have. So I would always prioritize the oil production. And beginner tip number 5 is that if things are very unstable in your castle, it might be best not to click on the rulings for a little while. If you have a lot of unhappiness in your castle or funds are very low, there's a good chance you'll be given a ruling that either people are just commenting about how unhappy they are that they don't have money, or you'll be given an ultimatum that makes one group mad. Now, if your king or queen already has a lot of enemies, it won't take very much to push them over the edge to want to kill you. So if things aren't going the best, assign somebody to a bookshelf or a harp, go on a few quests or a gauntlet run, give them some time for their happiness to increase, and come back and click the rulings then. And that is all for the beginner tips for the Elder Scrolls Castles. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you can think of anything else, please feel free to let me know in the comments below.